This is the Red Elephant back again with another video. Today, we're going to be looking at the potential 2020 matchup for the presidential election between President Trump and Senator Sanders. This is something that could potentially happen. Obviously, Trump, very high approval ratings among Republicans, 85 upwards of 90%. There's probably no shot that he doesn't get the nomination, so he's going to be there on the Republican side and on the Democratic side. A lot of people would say Bernie Sanders is the early favorite if he decides to run. Now, this brings up the question of who will win the election. Well, in this video, that's what we're going to get into as we look at the electoral map, and we're going to see who can get to 270. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Now, let's get into the video. All right, so obviously, let's fill in the typical states. California, that's going to go Democratic. Oregon, Washington, that's going to go Democratic. Idaho, probably Republican. We're going to leave Nevada as a toss-up. Utah is going to go Republican. Wyoming, Montana, and then we're going to go all the way down from North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. And I'm just going to give all three electoral districts to Trump. That state went overwhelmingly for Trump in the 2016 election. I just don't see Bernie being able to pick up the third electoral district, so we're going to give that to Trump instead of making it a toss-up. Kansas, what am I doing? Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Now, some people on the left, they say, oh, Texas, growing Latino community they got down there, growing Latino population. They think that somehow they'll be able to possibly flip Texas. They've had this dream for years. I just don't see it happening, at least not in this election. Possibly maybe in like 2032, there would be a shot maybe, but I don't think anytime in these next few elections that it will be flipping. I just think that's totally insane to think. Now we're going to leave Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico as toss-ups. Those are states that can almost go either way. Then we come down to Alaska, Republican. Hawaii is going to be Democratic. Now Minnesota, that's a state that even Reagan couldn't flip in '84 when he won every single state, despite Minnesota and DC. So I think that we're going to give Minnesota the Bernie Sanders. Now, when I talk about the Rust Belt, I exclude Minnesota. When I think about the Rust Belt, I think of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, maybe Indiana, if you want to throw that in there. But really, these four states is what I think of. So in this video, when I refer to the Rust Belt, I am excluding Minnesota. Now, Iowa, I think that's going to go for Trump. Missouri, I think that goes Trump. Arkansas and Louisiana, Trump states. Come down here. Mississippi is going to go for Trump. Alabama. Georgia, we're just going to leave that as toss-up right now. Just because, it's typically a pretty close state. If it had a leading Republican, I'd put that. But right now, I'm just going to leave that as a toss-up. South Carolina, Republican. We'll come down to Florida. We'll leave that as a toss-up as well. Tennessee, Republican. Kentucky, North Carolina. We'll leave that as a toss-up. Well, Virginia, we'll leave that as a toss-up as well. Then we come into West Virginia, Republican. Illinois, it's going to go Democratic. And we're going to leave the whole Rust Belt here as toss-ups. Now, Indiana, Mike Pence's home state. I'm not positive that he's very popular there. I actually think that he's not popular there. But we're going to give Indiana to Trump. When we come up here to the Northeast, all right, DC is going to go Democrat. Maryland's going to go Democrat. Delaware, Democrat. New Jersey, Democrat. Then we come up I'm from Jersey, so I know the state's not going to flip anytime soon, unfortunately. Then we come up to New York, Democratic. Vermont, Bernie's home state, Democratic. New Hampshire, I'm going to leave that as a toss-up, although I'm pretty sure I know which way it's going to go. I'll still leave that as a toss-up. Maine, Democratic, and we're going to leave the second congressional district there as a toss-up. It went overwhelmingly for Trump in 2016, Although up here, this is Bernie's sweet spot up here. We're going to fill in these states: Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all Democratic. But back to Maine's second congressional district. That's why I'm finding it hard to leave New Hampshire and Maine's second congressional district as toss-ups, even though they were last. Well, New Hampshire was a toss-up. It was very close. I think the overall margin of victory there was like 1 or 2 points. It was very slim. And then Maine's second congressional district, Trump won overwhelmingly the rural areas up there, because I believe that's what the second congressional district covers, mainly rural areas. But then again, I'm not positive. So, all right, now we're going to get into all the toss-ups. We'll just start up here. So, Maine second congressional district, again, Trump won it overwhelmingly. But this is Bernie's sweet spot up here in the Northeast. Well, I guess you can add New Jersey, but since Pennsylvania's there, mainly north of New York and up is what you're looking at there. So I think we're going to come back to that. So we're going to come down here to these states. Nevada was a state that voted against Trump in 2016, and I think Bernie's able to hold on to it, and I'm going to put this into the Democratic column. Arizona, I think that's going to stay Republican. Now, this is why this election is going to be different. Bernie Sanders is extremely, extremely liberal. He is a progressive. That's what I call extreme liberals, progressive. Not like extreme. Now, when I say extreme, I'm not talking about extreme policies. Well, I am, but I'm not talking about like, the Antifa movement and all that. I'm just talking about very liberal when I say progressive in this video. And truthfully, I don't think that's where the country's at. I think, yeah, he was popular in 2016, late 2015, 2016 primaries. He was popular. The Young Turks, very pro Bernie Sanders. He's very popular, but I just don't think a lot of these states would want to vote for someone like that. So that's why I'm struggling. New Mexico, we'll give that to Bernie. We'll give New Mexico to Bernie. Colorado, very working class. Bernie's extreme healthcare plans and stuff like that. I don't know if that'll be enough to keep it. We'll come back to that. Now we go down to Georgia and Florida. I think Georgia is a state that is going to be won by Republicans in this election. I just think that's what's going to happen here. I think you need a more moderate Democrat to flip Georgia. Again, Georgia voted for Bill Clinton in 92. Very highly African American and very highly minority communities in Georgia. You have Atlanta, and you have many different places in the state that are highly Democrat. But I just don't think this is the election that is going to flip Georgia. So I put that in the Republican column. Florida. Now we come to Florida, the ultimate swing state, the swing state with the most electoral votes up for grabs. I put Florida back in Trump's pocket. I think he won the state by about 2 or 3%. I was surprised by that number. I remember watching election night. I knew Florida was going to be extremely close. I didn't know if Trump was going to have enough to get it, and ultimately he did. He had more. This wasn't a Bush-Gore scenario like we had in 2000. This was Trump clearly won the state. Not as much as he won Ohio by, though. And that brings me to Ohio. He won Ohio by 8 points. I just don't think Bernie's going to flip it. I put this one in the Republican column. Again, Trump, all these Rust Belt states, or Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, I believe he won by around 80,000 votes. He won the 3 states by 80,000 votes, and these are the states that gave him the election. So that's why Ohio was not included in that. He won this by 8 percentage points. He won it clearly. Even if that's cut in half, it's still more than enough to win it. I think Ohio stays in the Republican pocket. Now, when you talk about Ohio, a Republican president has never won the election without Ohio. That's kind of insane when you think about it. That one state, they've never won the election without winning that one state. That is, the Democrats, they've won and lost elections regardless of any state. So Ohio is very important for Republicans, very important for anyone, but extremely important for Republicans. Now we come down here to North Carolina. I think that's going to stay Republican. I think it's trending Republican. Romney was able to flip it in 2012. Trump kept it in 2016. I think Trump is going to keep it in 2020. Now, Virginia. I think Tim Kaine's the senator there. I think that stays Democrat. I just don't think Trump can flip it. Colorado, I forgot about this. We're going to give that to the Democrats. We come up here. These states are what determines the election. Trump needs 11 electoral votes to win, and he can get that with Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. Well, he can't get it with New Hampshire. We can get closer to that number, but he can win it with either one of these states. Now, New Hampshire, again, Bernie supports strong up there. This is a sweet spot. I think he keeps that. And I think that we are going to give the second electoral district to Bernie Sanders, just because I think that's a sweet spot up here. Although the rural voters up in Maine did go overwhelmingly for Trump in 2016, I think that, again, being in Bernie's home backyard, his home backyard, I think being in Bernie's backyard up here, I think he's able to keep that, and I think he can get those people to come out and vote for him. Now, the three states that decided the 2016 election will decide the 2020 election, in my opinion. Now, I think Wisconsin, I think we're going to give that one back to the Democrats and Bernie Sanders. And then we come over here to Michigan. Again, he won these states by so little. I don't really. This is a very difficult decision here on what to pick. Michigan, it's a very close state in 2016. Now, again, the whole thing with Bernie Sanders is he's very progressive, very liberal. And I don't know how his policies are going to do on the voters, white working class voters up in Michigan and Pennsylvania. It could turn them off, or it can make them really come out to vote for them. I think that the Democrats retake these two states, and Michigan and Wisconsin, and then now we're tied 259 to 259 with Pennsylvania up for grabs. And now I have a place up in the Poconos, up in Pennsylvania. I know Pennsylvania. I've been there a lot. I just don't think Bernie can win it. I think that this state is going to go for Donald Trump, ultimately winning Donald Trump the election, 279 electoral votes to 259 electoral votes. Now, I think if this map is indeed the one that comes out in 2020 and Bernie Sanders is the challenger, well, regardless of who the challenger is, if Trump wins all these states, if Trump wins all the states he did in 2016 but loses Wisconsin and Michigan, he would ultimately win less than the 306 or 308. I think it was 308 electoral votes that he won in 2016. He would be the third president ever to win re-election with less electoral votes than he initially won it with. So this is my prediction for the 2020 election, hypothetical matchup of Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders. And now we're sitting here in 2018. A year from now, in about a year to 2 years, this matchup can be seen as a lot less hypothetical and very much real. We're not sure. I'm not going to even say who I think is going to win a Democratic nomination. I do think that they're going to have more people run than the Democrats did with 16, than the Democrats and the Republicans did in 2016 with the 16 people they had running. I think they're going to match that or even have more. Democratic Party is ultimately up for grabs. So this is my prediction of a Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump election. Again, Donald Trump winning re-election, 279 electoral votes to Bernie Sanders, 259 electoral votes. So thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Please subscribe. Trying to grow the channel up. It means a lot if you just hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be bringing content very much like this. I may do some more hypothetical elections. Watch my previous video. It details Trump and bringing North Korea to the bargaining table and what could potentially happen when they do negotiate. So I'll make a lot of videos like that pertaining to current events and news. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day.